Hello, my dear friends, fellow travelers, photographers. Indeed, today I'm giving you a surprise. A surprise that I'm launching a new series in addition to my travelogue series. And the name of this series, I give it a name that is so-called the question mark series. And friend of mine may ask me why giving such a funny name or unique name to this series. Because over the last 5 months after I launched my travel channels, I met a lot of friends of mine and of course partly congratulate me for launching this YouTube travel channel. And they also asked me quite a number of questions about the journey that I took over the last 20 years. And of the question that I asked, I realized that besides asking you, how's the trip like? Do you enjoy it? Anything special? The next question they will ask, how's the food? Do you like it? Is it expensive? Is it safe to eat? And a lot of questions were centered on the food. And I decided for this reason that I now want to kick off my first episode of this questions mark series to deal with the food. The food that I consumed along the way from the Silk Road Trail from Xian to Urumqi. And this episode is not the true or full representation of the type of food you are expected to encounter. It merely is my personal experience, my encounter of the type of food that when I took over the last few years. And I hope that they give you an insight, a rough idea of what the food to expect when you travel on these Silk Road trails from Xian to Urumqi. So let's move on with the food itself. Now, before I proceed further, I hope that you will support my channel, and at the same time, please subscribe so that I will then produce more interesting images to share with all you. And indeed, sharing a travel journey with friends around the world is always my passions, which I have mentioned many times. I hope that you will support my channel by subscribing, by put a thumb up to my channel. On top of that, please share with the friends and family. I hope today I will be able to answer some of the questions that my friend have asked me or my fellow traveler have asked me. And this is actually the journey I took from the map. From the lower end is Xian, and the upper end of the line is Urumqi. It looks like it's a straight line, but indeed, actually, the distance between these two major cities are also the provincial capital city of the province called Shanxi, and at the lowest portion, and the XINJIANG at the upper portions is stretched more than 3,000 kilometers away. That is only measured in straight line. So actually the journey that we took, you can enjoy this Silk Road journey either from Xian all the way up to Urumqi. There are some travelers prefer to take the trips, right, from Urumqi down to Xian. But frankly speaking, in my personal opinion, it's good to take the travels starting point from Urumqi and landed in Xian and spend a few more days in this ancient capital of China in Xian. So very important, I need to stress, let's go back to the map before. I have actually divided the food trail that I have encountered and enjoy over this journey into two sections. The first section is the one that fall between the before the line. That's from Xian all the way until the border of the provincial borders of Xinjiang. And the section 2 or the zone 2 of my food that I'm going to share with you are more confined to those food that I encounter or can find in Xinjiang provinces. So there's quite a distinct differences, because in Xinjiang it's actually you can have encounter a lot food, authentic food from the Uyghurs ethnic groups, small ethnic groups in China. But having said that, most of food that I encounters along these several trails, a lot of them are Muslim food, or in Malaysia we call it halal food. So for a start, when you are starting your journey in Xi'an, of course, in Xi'an is more toward the eastern side of China, and therefore the Han population is greater, and you can expect to have a meal that's involved pork, right? And therefore, this is some of the dishes I've tried and I like very much. That is actually the pork, the skewered pork steak, or we call it kebab, you know. And the important thing here that the food or all this kebab here, they are really apply a lot of spice, and the spices are very, very nice to eat. And as far as concerned, this is one of the things that I enjoy most during my journey. And you can also encounter sausages, barbecue sausages, and these are in one of the restaurant we took our dinner before we depart from Xi'an back to Kuala Lumpur. And we really enjoy the dinners in this restaurant where we are in Xi'an. And this is basically roasted lamb ribs. And you can see that from the images itself, I make myself feel very hungry now. Although I've taken my dinner, I feel like I need to take a supper now, because it's very tempting. The food in this area is really, really heavily spiced and very delicious, in my personal opinion. And you also can find some of these street foods in the Strait of Xi'an, also along the way further to the north. And you can see these brewed chickens and in soya sauce. And as far as concerned, it's not bad to try, you know. And of course, this type of food is less spicy. It's more toward the Han cuisine. And this another quite similar to just now the earlier dish, but then this actually they mix pig organs and part. You know, when you are going up to the northwestern part, then you find that actually the pig or the pork will be then replaced with lambs or muttons. And I was actually quite surprised, caught by surprise, having enjoying this very special hot pot. This with my wife when we are alone. Both of us were looking for our food, and we bump into a restaurant, and then they say that this is their special dish, and we sat down and have it. And it's the sauce, the soup they prepare is very, very unique, and it's not very salty, and they added a lot of, as you can see from pictures, that they have sweet corn, and they have a lot of meat added in. We enjoy it, although it's just only one bowl of hot pot, you know, two of us sharing with my wife. But I indeed like this very much. This is my favorite dish during my journeys along these sailboats. And for those vegetarian, of course, you say, you show me all the meats, you know, pork, the mutton, the lamb. I'm vegetarian, what I expect to eat, So you can actually encounter vegetarian dishes like that. They're using mushrooms, greens, chili, and fry. They can just simple pan fry, with little oil. But then be careful. If you don't like too much oil, you better tell the chef, or tell the restaurant waiter, say please less oil, less salt, because they understand. In fact, some of my tour guide, they know us. Though a lot of Malaysians, when come to this part of China, they will have two very simple requirements when they order for their dishes, for their meal. They will ask for less salt, less oil, because the dishes in China are very salty. In certain places, not beside very spicy, it's very salty and very oily. So you can also try TAUFU. It's quite popular. Like in this case, in this picture show that is TAUFU in a spicy sauce. Again, this style of dishes, you can eat a lot because it's the gravy. You just place have a bowls of plain rice. You can literally with one dish of this, consume the whole bowl of rice. It's very, very nice to eat in this ordering when order these dishes. And of course, you can also order pan fried potatoes with green chili or green onions. This also another very regular, popular dishes along the way. Very simple dishes, and is suitable for all people, and particularly for the vegetarians. And as you're moving up, then you realize that these style of dishes are come by very frequently. And we used to call it lempan. It's usually a cold mix. They actually prepare all this fresh veggie, with peanuts and some of these so-called specials. We call them here is liang pan. They call liang pan. It's something like in Malaysia. They can call it like kway teow, but then it's a bit different from the kway teow that in Malaysia. And they just mix it with the chili oil, like shown in these pictures, and they like it, it's a cold dish, but personally, I don't quite dislike these dishes, but it's quite popular to the local. And you can also find another dishes as also something similar, but this is a stir fry. And you can see that they always add dry chili. They fry with dry chili. In this case, you can see they added some of the lotus roots, and at the same time the peanuts. And if I'm not mistaken, they also have tofu, and therefore some green veggie. And these also are very popular dishes for the vegetarians. And noodle is something you can't avoid, because I believe that if you have a chance to visit China, you realize that a lot of the Chinese people, they like noodles. And this noodle, they actually added, they always added, this is considered quite plain, not spicy. And they added some special ingredients, and some of these ingredients is munch meat, and they have a spicy sauce whatsoever. And in fact, I like these dishes. It's not too oily. This bowl of noodles. And if you were moving near to Lanzhou, basically is actually the provincial capital of Gansu province, then you should not miss this special dish. They call it Lanzhou Niu Mian. It's actually beef noodles. It's very, very famous, and the noodle is hand pulled noodles, and then they give you a lot of chili spice, thereby you can add yourself. Then sometimes will not add in, but they put it in the bowl, a special separate bowls, and then you just add on yourself, depend how spicy you like it to be. And sometimes they even have chili oils was also next to it for you to add on. Some people like to add a lot of chili oils into these bowls of beef noodles. It's very, very famous specialty in Lanzhou of Gansu province. And you also can come across this style of noodles, right? This noodle is called rice noodle. It's a bit transparent in the type, transparent type. And if in Malaysia, what you call it, we call it in Cantonese called Dong Fan, right? It's something similar to that. And in this case, you realize actually they add on a special sauce, and this sauce is going toward a bit reddish, and you can see that actually it's a bit spicy. The spiciness, the spicy sauce is very, very common in the central sections of the China. Particularly, you come across that a lot of Hui Chinese, whereby actually Hui in actually means the Chinese who actually Chinese Muslim. They call Hui, right? And then you realize that actually the noodle is still a very popular dishes along this Silk Trail at this section of the Silk Roads. And of course, this is another bowl of the noodles, and these are all the non-hand pull. Some of them are hand pull noodles, some of them are not. But trust me, all these noodles are a bit spicy. And you can't run away when you go to China. You can't run away with bao. Some people like to call it 小笼包, and basically it's they can have a lot of ingredients. Some of them can be just a pumpkin, some of them can be just veggie, some of them can even be added in some meats, So there are various type of bao, and when you order at the time, you either order half of it or half of what you see in the pictures, or you order the whole. 一笼,半笼, they actually mean that you take half of it, or one basket, or half of the basket, right? So it's not a very big size, and some of them are very juicy. They contain, when you bite on it itself, even steam hot itself, be very careful, because the hot juice inside the bao can actually cause harm to your tongue and to your mouth. And you also come across this style of fried bao, and it is actually pan fried, and inside mainly they're stuffed with meat, various style of meat, and some veggie and spice, and in fact quite tempting to eat, actually, particularly take as a snack during travels. You can pack it and then bring it into your vehicle, and you can eat it along the way, which I did that, and besides ordered it during the breakfast. And this is another form of pancake, in this section of the journey. And you can see that as usual, inside is stuffed with veggie, or some of them is stuffed with meat. And this is another version whereby actually you order the type of meat, you order the ingredient that you want, and they chop it, and then they cut open this so-called bao-like type of bread, and then they split open, they just insert in, just like sandwich, and then you eat it fresh. And when it's actually the ingredient come from the frying pan, or frying from the oven, straight from oven, it's very crispy and it's very, very delicious. I did try a few of that, and none of them disappoint me. None of them. So what we take for breakfast? Usually, you will encounter soybean meals, and then you have the dumpling, and you have the bao, and sometimes you have even a bowl of so-called the egg soup, and usually they will give you also chili sauce for you to dip and eat. And this is quite a common set of breakfast you can encounter in hotel, or even in any small restaurants in the early mornings. And this another option of the breakfast set. You have a pancake, you know, and you call it Chinese pancake. You have a hot boiled egg, and then of course soybeans milk. Then you can even red bean soup, and of course they have some seasoned cold dish, mainly vegetable of various type. And if you're going toward near to so-called Mongolian style, or even Tibetan style, then you will encounter this style of breakfast whereby you have yogurts and you have actually they will give a bowl of sugar for you to add on. Some people like to have sweet yogurt, so they add on the sugar. And you also have the seasoning vegetable, which is very, very common in along this stretch all the way until Urumqi. If you are staying in a hotel, you find that when you're having a buffet breakfast itself, you find that there's a lot of variety of so-called seasonal vegetable, or this is called cold dish, for you to eat together with your porridge. And of course, you can have jam, fruit jam, honey that come along for you to apply to the bread, you know, and also pancake, you know, like this case, is giving you a pancake, and you can have a hot coffee or a hot tea, you know. So this again is a very quite common set of breakfast. And for lunch, you could have, as seen in these pictures, noodles. Most of the time, you encounter noodle more than rice. And normally we eat rice, or if you didn't have individual plate. In China, they usually share, you know, they order a few dishes of, then they all have their own bowl or plain rice they eat together. This sort of set lunch or set dinner is very, very rare in China, right? But anyway, it's getting very popular because of influx of tourists, and they also cater for the need. Because I understand a lot of Westerners, they prefer to have an individual set rather than they eat like the Chinese style, like a family in a round table. They don't get used to that type of dinner style. So the trend is changing to accommodate the foreigner tourists that coming influx to this part of China. So a closer view, you can see that you can have like this case, they actually on the right hand side and the left hand side is actually fries, chicken with dry chili, and of course then you have noodles, you know, and of course a cup of drinks and others cold dish you can see, and probably some fruits and desserts, you know. So we are moving on now, the section 2 now. We are moving on to the Xinjiang. You see from previous period, if we are now moving to zone 2, we are actually cover those food that you are likely to encounter in Xinjiang. So now, when you enter to Xinjiang, the assignment is you are actually going to face-to-face encounter with a very unique race, Uyghurs, Kazakhs, the minority people, and they have a very, very unique style of their cuisine. And of course, the first thing that we always remember, that if you're going to Xinjiang, do not forget the roasted whole lamb. And some of our friends ask me, what are lambs they are using? And you can see the insert pictures. This is the species of the lambs that they use to produce these whole lambs. It's very, very delicious, and if you eat it when it comes fresh from the fireworks, from a fireplace. We did in one of the trip itself, during the farewell dinner, we have a roast lambs, and the whole team of tour mates, we enjoy this roast lamb very much. So this is one of the very unique, authentic dishes in Xinjiang. Then there are another important dishes or food you should not miss is actually the lamb kebabs. because you're moving to Muslim regions, right, due to regional restrictions, that you found that the population there are mostly Muslim. So you found that the kebab they're selling are mainly lamb kebab, right? Or rather, or mostly are lamb kebab. So you have to get used to. If you don't eat lambs, then I'm sorry that you probably can't find any other alternative source of meat. Of course, you can occasionally get some chicken, but it's very, very rare in Xinjiang. And one thing for sure, I like this lamb kebab very much. And of course, the lamb kebab in the Zone 1, in Lanzhou particularly, and also in Xian, compared with the lamb kebab in Xinjiang, is not the same. Of the three places that I've tried, both in Xian, in Lanzhou, as well as Urumqi, I still fall in love the lamb kebab in Lanzhou. In Lanzhou, the lamb kebab, I'm sorry I didn't have the picture to share with you. It's not so meaty and not so fatty, and it's very thin, long steak, but it provides a lot of spice on it, and they have a very tough variety of spice, and you definitely will like it. And at first, I remember I bought it at the 3 steak at 10 renminbi, and because I understand it's very spicy, so I didn't order much. I ordered only 10 renminbi to try the 3 steak, and believe me, 10 renminbi is not enough. 3 steak is not enough. I order again another 3 steak. Just alone, I took 6 steaks, and I still trying to take more. But my wife stopped me and say, "Please, you're gonna get salted very soon if you eat in this manner." Then, what is the difference between this form of lamb kebabs in Xi'an and Xinjiang? They are very much meaty, and they slot in some fat. So some people who don't like to eat a lot of fat, then you find that it's very fatty. But without this fattiness in these lamb kebabs, actually you can't get the true taste of the lamb kebabs. And the interesting part is the spice. The spice over there is fantastic. I can show you one thing that you will enjoy most if you like spice. The spice along these silhouette trails, the food, particularly all these kebabs, are fantastic. And I will always order this lamb kebab to eat if I have a chance to go to Xinjiang again. And of course, if you can't take lamb kebab, then you have an alternative. That's chicken. So you also will have certain store. They also have sell other meat, such as chicken. But beef is very, very rare. Surprisingly, I can't find any beef kebab. Basically, it's the mutton or lamb kebabs and chicken kebab. And when we were in the northern Xinjiang, you also come across this so-called barbecue fish, and it's very popular over that region in the northern Xinjiang. And as usual, again they sprinkle the spice on it, and it's also another very interesting dishes to eat. And I took another pictures that's after we add the fish, and it's almost we left with the bone, and you can see how tasty is this piece of meal that we have taken, and we take it as actually as our suppers, because our main meal we can start take the barbecue fish. And one of the main food, one main course in Xinjiang is pilaf. From the image, you see that the pilaf actually is a rice that cooked with carrots. You can surprise that they have both red carrots and as well yellow carrots. And then sometimes they add in some raisin. If you happen to be visited during the fruiting time, that means after somewhere in the month of August onwards, whereby the grapes have been dry and have formed a lot of raisins. They will even add raisin into the rice and to produce this pilaf. And over there, for the vegan people, they call pilaf, they call polo, right? And of course, in general term, it's called pilaf. And the pilaf you can add on, you add meat, right? You have a variety of choice. You can add lamb meat, you can add chicken meat. So therefore, if you order the pilaf, just the rice alone without the meat, of course it's cheaper. But of course, I recommend you to eat with either with the lamb pilaf or chicken pilaf. And I'm sure that you equally enjoy these dishes. Very filling, and in fact that I took a lot. Most of the time when I order, if there's a so-called pilaf, I will order both lamb and muttons, right? Chicken, sometimes I alternate them, so that they make it not less boring in my meal. And then another very important dish, a very famous dish, you all heard, they call them 大盘鸡. If we translate into English, big plate chicken. And this basically is the chickens, they chop it in small pieces, I've seen in the image. They stir fry in oil first before they add on other veggie. And it's a bit spicy, but very crispy. The chicken is very crispy and very nice to eat. And usually you eat this together with plain rice. It's a very famous dish. Some of these 大盘鸡 is you're not eating with rice, you're eating with noodle. Then in this case, they could have placed the noodle, hand pulled noodles, at the base, and then on top they cover with this 大盘鸡, right? And when you eat the time, you just spoon, you mix it, all right, and then you eat it together. So this is another way of eating, enjoying this 大盘鸡 with noodle or 大盘鸡 with plain rice. And noodles, hand pulled noodle is very, very popular in China. They call it 拌面, all right? And there are many choice, many type of 拌面, and you can order it separately, where you have the ingredients, right? One plate, and then the meat on one side, the noodle on one side. Then you just mix yourself to the amount that you want. Normally this is eaten a few people sharing, right? So that you can gauge the amount that you want to take, right? So again, is quite spicy. Or you can order individually, a la carte. It was surprised that even we went into one restaurant and looked at the menu on the wall. There are almost 20 types of noodle. Then we look closely, the name is different, just because the ingredient is slightly different, right? All a noodle, cooking in the same way, just add on different ingredients. And very often you find that they're giving you either add on the chili as a chili paste as you see just now on this image, or they give you separately a special separate can to contain all the chili paste for you to decide how much to add, and also could be even another bottle of red chili oil for you to add on to these noodles. In Malaysia, we can like to call it guan lo, and actually it's something quite similar, right? And this is another alternative to just now the earlier dish. You can see that just the ingredient, that in this dish, they added more green chili. And this one is again, they added different type of vegetables. So you can see that they're using different type of ingredients, given different name. Actually, the base is still noodle, And you also can order your noodle in a big bowls as usual and pre-mix it, and then a few people share and eat. So this is seem to be an avoidable encounter. You certainly were going to encounter this type of street food in most of the restaurants. And this is actually the restaurant that we enter are actually not those luxurious restaurants, it's those street restaurants along the way. As you travel, you stop by to have a lunch a break. Sometimes we travel, we don't specifically go to specific restaurant. We just for the convenience of the journey, that we just stop wherever convenient, we stop by and look for any restaurant nearby, and we just pop in and have our meal. So we have the opportunity to really close encounter to those restaurants that actually patrons visit by the local. It's not those specially catered for the tourists. In fact, all these restaurants that we visited are actually meant for the locals. And of course, I'm sorry for this image, it's not very clear because it's under very dim light. Actually, we also in northern Xinjiang. And we have brews lamb bones, the bone that brew and a soup. We drink the soup, and even those bones still have some meat attached to it, and we eat this little bit of attached meat on these bones. And also, is the soup is very tasty and very, very sweet. And another important ingredient of daily food of the vegan people is actually the naan. We call them the local vegan breads, called naans. And this is actually produced using their local kanduri, the special oven, to produce it. And if you have a chance to go to Xinjiang, you can see for yourself how this naan is produced. And the best to eat fresh from the ovens, very crispy and very, very nice to eat. And they have various sizes, and the local, they bought it and abundant and use it to eat along the journey. For example, for the Tibetans, when they are going for a pilgrimage tour, not tour actually, pilgrimage to some famous place, worship places, they sometimes travel on the road for many, many days. And actually, the only thing they bring along, the food they bring along, is this naan. And this is something similar to what I've shared with you earlier on. It's actually oil fried pan, baozi, or oil fried baozi, and you can see it's stuffed with ingredient like veggie and meat, and most of the time it's stuffed is a lamb meat or mutton. And we also come across the hand pull noodle they use to deep oil fry, and they eat it as a snack, and very crispy. And I do enjoy it. If you want to buy some snack along the way, this is one of the one you can try, the local snack. And if you happen to be in northern Xinjiang, please don't miss these honey melons. It's very famous melons over the entire world, and as far as concerned, when they are in season, it's very cheap there. If you eat anything of that out of Xinjiang, it's going to be very expensive. Very nice is to get it and eat it. In fact, some people will prefer to even skip the lunch, eat whole melons as the meal for the lunch. So what to expect for lunch when you're in Xinjiang? You can order the tapanji, and you can order local vegetables like cucumbers, right? And all these are egg with tomatoes. You can see in dishes is that these images is most of it are all vegetables, except the center is the tapanji, is the non-vegetable, right? So this is how we enjoy our lunch in northern Xinjiang. And of course, for lunch, you can also have options of pilaf, right? And of course, you can order as well as noodle to eat together. Sometimes people like to eat pilaf and noodle together if you're a big eater. For me, I'll only either go for noodles or pilaf. So this is the journey, my food journey in northern Xinjiang, from Xian all the way to Urumqi. It's strictly my personal encounter. But I can assure you that you definitely will enjoy it, because indeed I've been in Xinjiang more than 3 times. And every time I'm going back home, I bring back a lot of sweet memory. I hope you will enjoy, as like me, when you take on the journey to the Silk Road in China. I hope you guys enjoy today these special episodes that I prepared for you live on live. And thank you very much for viewing until this hour. And please subscribe, please support my channel by sharing to your friends and family members. I say again, thank you very much for staying until this hour, and see you in my coming travelogues in the next Saturday. And thank you very much for viewing. Good night.